So, usually when you apply for a new role, you expect a certain kind of familiar dance.
Oh, absolutely, the traditional setup.
Exactly. You sit across from someone in a crisp suit, or maybe you stare into a webcam, and you simply talk about your past experience.
You list your previous jobs, describe your education.
And you just hope your conversational charm carries the day. It is a traditional interview format where you are essentially telling a story about what you accomplished 5 years ago.
And in that traditional interview setup, the people hiring are forced to simply guess if you can actually do the work they need you to do today.
Because it is entirely biographical.
Precisely. They are banking on your past being a perfect predictor of your future performance.
But when you look at the language-focused assessment process at TELUS Digital, that traditional format completely vanishes.
It is a completely different ballgame.
You do not just talk about what you can do. You have to demonstrate the skill directly, on the spot, through a rigorous test.
You are stepping straight into a live, unvarnished demonstration of your abilities.
It is such a fascinating shift in how talent is evaluated.
Well, we are moving away from the polished resume. The work revolves around training artificial intelligence, and AI does not care about where you went to school.
It just cares about the data.
Exactly. It cares about whether you can feed it accurate, nuanced human data.
So to be absolutely clear about what this process actually is, it starts with an initial application.
Just the standard first step.
But then that application is followed by a qualification exam, a comprehensive guideline-based assessment, and finally, placement in a project pool.
That is the core pipeline.
So for our exploration today, we are unpacking the exact mechanics of the TELUS Digital qualification process. We want to give you the ultimate shortcut to navigating these exams.
And to understand the test itself, we first need to understand exactly who TELUS Digital is looking to qualify for these roles.
So what are the actual requirements candidates report needing to qualify for those roles?
Well, candidates report needing exceptionally strong language backgrounds and a history of professional use of their language skills.
Does that mean a specific college degree?
Actually, some applicants have described specific degree requirements, though this varies heavily depending on the particular project.
And what about the compensation for this kind of work?
In terms of compensation, some postings have listed rates ranging from $6.50 to over $30 an hour.
That is quite a range.
It is, but it depends entirely on the local market and the complexity of the task.
What really caught my attention when examining the reported requirements was the residency rule.
Oh, that is a huge factor.
Candidates report facing very strict residency requirements, often needing to prove they have lived in their specific country for 3 to 5 consecutive years.
They need that recent, continuous exposure to the culture.
I also noticed that heritage speakers are reportedly often eligible, provided they meet a specific cultural currency standard.
Which makes sense.
So fluency is not just about knowing vocabulary. It is about breathing the current culture.
You hit the nail on the head.
It sounds less like a language test and more like a cultural currency check.
That cultural currency check is exactly what they were testing for. Because, a language is not a static list of words preserved under glass.
It is constantly shifting.
It is a living, breathing ecosystem. It changes daily based on pop culture, politics, internet trends, and social movements.
Just think about how much internet slang has evolved just in the last 12 months.
Exactly. TELUS Digital needs individuals who understand the nuances of how a language is used today on the street and online.
Not just how it was written in a textbook a decade ago.
Absolutely.
And this cultural currency requirement explains exactly why broad, general language skills are simply not enough.
Because AI models are trained on the entire internet.
Which means they are ingesting all of that rapidly changing slang and cultural context.
And that brings up the importance of hyper-specific dialects.
So exact regional dialects matter immensely for AI training then.
They matter more than almost anything else. Consider the vast differences between Spain Spanish, Mexican Spanish, and neutral Latin American Spanish.
They are entirely different flavors of the language.
If an AI is generating text for a user in Mexico City, it cannot use phrasing that sounds like it belongs in Madrid.
Because the vocabulary is completely different in some cases.
Exactly. For example, the word for computer in Spain is ordenador, while in Mexico it is computadora.
So using the wrong word immediately signals to the user that they are talking to a machine.
It breaks the illusion entirely. It shows the machine does not understand their world.
So you cannot just provide generic translations that anyone could find in a dictionary. The AI needs to sound like a local.
Precisely. You have to remember, large language models do not actually understand language in the way humans do.
They're just predicting text.
Exactly. They predict the next most likely token or piece of a word based on their training data.
So if their training data is a messy mix of every Spanish dialect on Earth,
Their output will be an unnatural, chaotic hybrid. AI models need native quality, highly localized feedback to function properly.
how do they even test for that level of localized feedback?
Well, to ensure this level of regional authenticity, some candidates report facing a short conversational verification step.
Like a spoken test.
It is basically a brief identity and dialect verification check within the qualification process. It is designed solely to confirm that you actually possess that specific local nuance.
Does this mean someone who speaks perfect, grammatically flawless textbook language might actually fail this assessment if they sound too academic and not like a local?
Absolutely, they would fail.
Wow, really?
Definitely. If an AI speaks to a user in a highly academic, rigid tone when the user is just asking a casual question, it feels unnatural and robotic.
So authentic local nuance is highly prized over rigid academic perfection.
Without a doubt. The engineers behind these models are trying to bridge the uncanny valley.
They want the AI to communicate in a way that feels human.
Human, relatable, and authentic to the specific region.
So once a candidate's dialect is verified, they face the core of the evaluation, which is the language quality assessment.
That is the main hurdle.
Let's break down what this actually tests and why it is so difficult for a machine to do on its own.
The assessment dives deep into grammar, sentence structure, and the incredibly tricky task of ambiguity detection.
Ambiguity detection.
Yes, you are looking at how words function together in real time, and whether a sentence could be interpreted in multiple conflicting ways by a reader.
Because ambiguity is a massive hurdle for AI.
It is one of the biggest challenges they face.
I suppose that is because AI lacks real-world context. Like, if I type, "I saw the man with the telescope," a human uses common sense to deduce who is holding the telescope.
Exactly. You know intuitively what the sentence means.
But an AI simply sees a string of text and gets confused about who actually possesses the object.
Exactly. And resolving that confusion requires human intervention.
So what does that look like on the test?
Well, a specific task candidates report facing is a categorization prompt. We could look at the backpack versus bag scenario.
Yo, that sounds interesting.
The assessment asks how the two words relate to one another. The options provided might include same intent, A is more specific than B, related but different, or unrelated.
Let's unpack the mechanism here. Why does an AI struggle to know the difference between a backpack and a bag?
Because an AI has never picked up a backpack.
It has no physical body.
Exactly. It has no physical understanding of objects in three-dimensional space. It only knows that the word backpack and the word bag frequently appear next to each other in large data sets.
So it needs a human to explicitly map the hierarchy of those concepts.
It needs you to tell it that a bag is a broad overarching category and a backpack is a very specific subcategory with straps designed for a human back.
This requires a highly precise understanding of vocabulary relationships.
It really does.
And what makes this significantly more challenging is the time pressure. Some applicants have described facing intense time limits.
Very intense.
For example, reportedly having only 2 minutes to answer 10 grammar-focused questions.
That is extremely fast.
2 minutes for 10 questions means you have exactly 12 seconds per question.
You barely have time to read the sentence.
It is like speed chess for grammar. You have to rely entirely on instinct because there is zero time to consult a dictionary or search for a rule online.
That speed chess analogy perfectly captures the environment. They are testing your deeply internalized fluency.
So you cannot just look things up.
If you have to look up the rule, you do not have the native-level instinct they require for high-speed evaluation.
You need to look at a sentence and instantly feel that the syntax is wrong.
Exactly, even before you can articulate the exact grammatical rule it breaks.
So if the grammar test proves you have that rapid-fire instinct for text, how do they handle the physical mechanics of speech?
That is a whole different layer of the assessment.
Because another candidate-reported task involves phonetic transcription and the International Phonetic Alphabet, or IPA.
Yes, the IPA section.
This seems like a massive leap from categorizing bags.
Well, phonetic transcription matters tremendously for text-to-speech AI training.
Because the AI is basically learning how to talk out loud.
Exactly. When an AI generates an audio response, it is synthesizing a human voice. To do that convincingly, you are essentially teaching an AI exactly where the human tongue goes or whether the lips are rounded when producing a specific sound.
This allows the machine to synthesize speech that sounds natural rather than synthetic.
And this is a task some candidates report encountering during their assessment.
Wait, how is a layperson supposed to do phonetic transcription without a graduate degree in linguistics? Is this a trap designed to weed people out?
It is a totally valid concern, but it is actually not a trap.
How so?
The mechanism behind this specific task is fascinating. If the IPA task appears on your screen, the assessment is not actually testing your pre-existing knowledge of linguistics.
So you do not need to memorize the alphabet beforehand?
Not at all. They often provide the necessary phonetic symbols and the corresponding guidelines in a legend right there on the screen.
Oh, so you have the key.
Exactly. The task is to carefully map the provided sounds to the text based on those exact rules.
So it is less about knowing the phonetic alphabet by heart and more about proving you can follow highly technical instructions.
Exactly. It is a test of your meticulous attention to detail.
Can you look at a visual symbol, read the rule associated with it, and accurately map it to a physical mouth movement described in the text?
If you can apply a new framework flawlessly under pressure, you are proving you have the exact analytical mindset required to train a machine.
So from the physical mechanics of sound, the assessment moves to the ultimate outcome.
The actual conversation.
You have to evaluate how the AI actually responds to a user in text. And this brings up the dual challenge of evaluating grammar versus evaluating tone.
Which is incredibly important.
Because getting the grammar correct is totally useless if the AI is being socially awkward to the user.
This is a crucial distinction for any evaluator to master. An AI response might be 100% grammatically correct, passing every traditional language rule, but completely fail on cultural or tonal appropriateness.
Let's look at idiom localization as an example of this.
That is a perfect example.
If someone tells a joke or uses an idiom in English, a literal grammatically perfect translation into another language might make zero sense.
Imagine an AI translating the English phrase raining cats and dogs literally into French or Japanese.
It would just be confusing.
The evaluator must recognize that the tone and cultural meaning are completely lost. The AI has provided a nonsensical, almost surreal image to the user.
Even if the grammatical structure of the sentence holds up perfectly.
Exactly.
And the AI does not know it is being absurd until a human explicitly flags it.
It has no idea.
That human intuition is currently unbeatable by machines because algorithms do not experience social context.
They do not feel secondhand embarrassment when a joke falls flat.
That human intuition, that intrinsic understanding of social norms and conversational appropriateness, is the exact product you are supplying to TELUS Digital.
It is the most valuable thing you bring to the table.
Knowing these concepts is one thing, but applying them happens during a massive open book exam.
A very intensive exam.
Candidates report receiving massive guideline documents to study extensively before taking the exam.
These documents are remarkably comprehensive. They detail every rule, edge case, and rating scale you will ever need.
So the open book exam format is designed entirely around these guidelines.
Completely. A lot of people approach this thinking it is a memory test, but it is actually a logic test.
So the goal is not to memorize a massive document.
The goal is to prove you can consistently apply detailed, nuanced rules under realistic working conditions.
If it is open book, many people assume it should be a breeze. You just hit Control F on your keyboard, type in the keyword, and find the answer immediately.
That is a really dangerous assumption.
Why is that?
Relying on Control F will not save you if you do not understand the underlying logic of the guidelines.
Because you still have to interpret the result.
Exactly. It is less like using Control F to find a word in a simple dictionary, and more like using Control F in a massive choose-your-own-adventure book.
That is a great way to describe it.
Finding the key word doesn't help if you don't know which page you were supposed to jump from. The guidelines often contain complex conditional logic.
What does that conditional logic actually look like in practice?
It usually operates on if-then principles.
So if this happens, then do that.
Exactly. If condition A is true but condition B is false, then you apply a very specific rating. But if both conditions are true, the rating changes entirely.
Wow, so just finding the word is not enough.
If you do not understand the mechanics behind the rule, finding the keyword with the search function will simply lead you to the wrong conclusion faster.
You have to read the surrounding context and understand the intent of the guideline.
Absolutely.
Let's test this right now. We can do a live walkthrough of what a candidate might actually see on their screen during the test.
There, let's do it.
So if I am the exam prompt and I throw the words backpack and bag at you, What is the actual logic they want to see when categorizing the relationship?
I would break down the logic systematically out loud. First, I identify the broader concept. A bag is a broad category.
It could be anything, really.
Exactly. It could refer to a grocery bag, a handbag, or a heavy duffel bag. Then I look at the second word.
The backpack.
A backpack is a specific type of bag designed explicitly to be carried on the back with 2 straps. Therefore, word A is more specific than word B.
So you establish the hierarchy based on real-world utility, not just dictionary definitions.
Exactly. You prove to the machine how humans use the objects.
That makes perfect sense for physical objects. But what happens when the prompt is entirely subjective, like evaluating tone?
Tone is definitely trickier.
Here is a tone mismatch scenario. A user asks the AI for a casual restaurant recommendation for a quick, cheap lunch with friends.
Very straightforward request.
But the AI responds with a highly formal academic essay detailing the historical significance of the local culinary scene, complete with elevated vocabulary and historical citations.
Well, looking at this response, the grammar generated by the AI might be completely flawless.
Probably perfectly punctuated.
There are no spelling errors,
Yeah.
and the syntax is perfect. However, the tone is a spectacular mismatch for the user's stated intent.
It completely missed the point of a quick lunch.
Exactly. The user wants a quick, casual suggestion, perhaps a simple bulleted list or a friendly sentence pointing them to a local taco stand.
Providing an academic essay completely ignores the conversational context.
I would evaluate this as highly inappropriate tonally, despite the perfect grammar. The AI completely failed to read the room.
Having explored the exact right way to think through these problems, let's outline the broader best practices for this entire process. How do candidates successfully navigate these screens?
The winning strategies for this qualification exam come down to a few core rules.
What is the first one?
First, always explain your reasoning clearly, rather than giving vague one-word judgments.
So do not just say bad response.
Exactly. The engineers training the models need to know exactly why something failed. They need to understand the why behind your rating so they can adjust the algorithm.
What is the next rule?
Second, stay incredibly calm under the candidate-reported time pressures. Panic leads to poor categorization and careless mistakes.
Which is easy to do when you have 12 seconds.
Yes, take a breath, trust your native fluency, and apply the logic.
Admitting uncertainty seems crucial here as well. If you encounter a regional slang word you do not recognize, blindly guessing seems incredibly risky.
It is highly risky. Admit uncertainty rather than blindly guessing.
Because they just want accurate data.
AI labs need highly accurate data, not random guesses that pollute the training pool. If you feed the AI bad data, it learns the wrong lessons.
Makes total sense.
And finally, avoid overly academic language in your own feedback if the prompt asks for a conversational evaluation. Always match the required tone in your own justifications.
Let's wrap up today's discussion with a short, highly practical checklist for you to do right now to prepare your mind for this type of evaluation.
Actionable steps are always best.
Step 1. Look at a recent text message on your phone and practice explaining out loud why the sentence structure sounds natural to you. Break down the syntax and the tone.
That is a great way to start.
Step 2. Review your own dialect-specific vocabulary. What specific words do you use every day that someone from a neighboring country or even a different state would simply not understand?
Doing that forces you to recognize your own cultural currency.
Exactly. And step 3. Practice rapid categorization out loud. Look at the items sitting on your desk right now and categorize them by specificity in under 12 seconds.
Like a coffee cup and a pen.
Exactly. A mug is a specific type of cup. A pen is a specific type of writing instrument. Practice making those hierarchical connections instantly.
Performing those specific exercises builds the exact cognitive muscles required to pass these assessments. You are training yourself to articulate the linguistic instincts you already use every single day.
Good luck applying these skills to your own assessment. Take your time with the guidelines, trust your native intuition, and remember that your local cultural knowledge is your greatest asset.